All right, guys. Hey, welcome to our Monday, May 20th Team Liberate call. I'm super jazzed up about this, although I'm sure I'll say this for everybody, but I am personally super excited about Kelsey's topic because I myself am working on these pockets of time and making them super effective so I can go to bed earlier. So before I hand it over to Kelsey, I just want to do some quick recognition. I just posted the updated board for this week, and I just definitely want to make sure I give everybody a shout out because I know everybody is working hard to change some lives in May. So our coach of the week is Lindsay Harder. She is killing it. She's a newer coach, and she is just putting herself out there. I know she has a super insane busy schedule. Even though she's a teacher and she's off for the summer, her schedule is still crazy and she's still making things happen. So congrats to Lindsay. And then at Success Club 5 or above, so again, it's the 20th. We still have a solid 10 days in the month, or 11 days in the month, but these people have already locked in Success Club for the month of May, meaning they have helped at least 3 people. So mostly you get 2 Success Club points when you change a life. So you would just divide these numbers by 2. So for example, Christina is at the top with 12. So divided by 2, that means she's helped 6 people change their life in the month of May, which is awesome. Kelsey is at 8, Erin is at 6, Markella is at 6, and Kelly McCrum is at 6. So you guys are doing awesome, but don't stop there. Keep going. We want to go until the very end of the month, change as many lives as we can. And then those of us who are on the board, meaning we've helped 1 or 2 people, not quite at Success Club yet, but still making some big things happen. Push, push, push to the rest of the month. We have myself at 4, Maureen Tropiano at 4, and then Pam, Randy, and Lindsay Harder's all at 2. So, and if your name isn't on the board quite yet, don't give up hope. Again, like I said, we have a solid 11 days left in the month. That's so much time to change at least 3 lives and get on the board with SC6. So that's it for recognition. So like I said, I'm super excited for Kelsey to chat with us tonight. She is going to talk to us about, working your business as with full-time hours in mind, but working it in part-time hours and, getting as much done as possible in those pockets of time and how to use those pockets of time most effectively. So Kelsey, I'm going to hand it over to you. Like always, everybody is muted, but if you have a question, you can either pop it in the chat or definitely unmute yourself to ask any questions, if that's okay with you, Kelsey.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds good. I definitely want this to, I want you to ask questions as I go because hopefully my hope is that you will, share my screen real quick. Okay, you can see this. Yeah. All right. So I want this to be I don't think I'm going to share anything that you don't already know, but my hope is that I'll be able to give you some tangible things that I've learned over the last couple of years, a very hard way of learning, but it's definitely the longer you stay in this, the bigger your goals are, the more intentional you just have to get with your time. And I'm someone who I thought was definitely more organized than I really am, but I'm still a work in progress, as we all are, but I'm learning a lot of good strategies that are helping. So just like Brooke said, what I want to focus on this conversation on is just how you find these pockets of your day. And I think as a new coach, especially, you will hear this and you won't know, you'll hear the term, but I honestly didn't know what that meant. I knew that I had these things to do. I knew that there were things that would move my business forward, but I really didn't know how to prioritize. And so I had to really learn some strategies to help do that. So I've always had this mindset that I have only limited hours, but I can work a full-time business on this part-time schedule. So a little bit just kind of about me is a lot of you know me, but for those of you who are newer on the team, I am a wife. I met my husband. We've been together over 10 years. We've been married for 5 or 6. I don't even know if that's so bad. It will be 6 this year. I am a mom to 2 boys. I have worked full-time in corporate America for the last 11 years. I have a really unique position in the sense that I work remotely for my company for the last probably 4 years. And from an outsider perspective, it looks like a pretty sweet gig. And it is. It's definitely got all the flexibility for a mom, but it has a lot of trade-offs. Whereas, like, I'm traveling a lot more certain times of the year. I'm working longer hours. So as soon as my kids go to bed, sometimes I'm working extra hours. So it's got some trade-offs, just like any job. But it's currently what I do. I kind of classic story. I came into Beachbody after having my second. I needed something to kind of fight the postpartum and anxiety I was feeling and overwhelmness. And this fit the bill. And I think ever since then, I just knew that this was something that was sustainable and could also help other women. So that's kind of my story. That's how I got here. And that's where I am today. So I love this quote because I think when you think about your day, we are all so busy. And I think that even though it may seem like we don't have 24 hours in a day, we do. And there's nothing different than you or me or the top coaches in the network, because we all have the same amount of hours, minutes, seconds in a day. The difference is how we prioritize our time, and maybe we have better strategies and systems in place to get things done. So my hope is that some of these tips will help you, especially if you were like me before, struggling with time. So what I have found there are a couple key things that I've honed in on to help me work what I call, I'm a part-time hustler with full-time dreams. And I think that these are kind of like the vitals of it. So first is time management. I thought I was excellent at time management. I really wasn't that great. I think working off a list is key, which the BAT tracker that we have makes that so much easier. But that's definitely something I've learned to focus on. And then tracking. Tracking, you could probably do a whole few calls on this, but I'll admit, I was someone who didn't think I had to track. I thought I could keep it all up here, or I would just kind of figure it out as I went. And I did figure it out as I went, but I should have started a lot sooner. And then just reinforcing your why. These are all the four key areas I've really focused on to help me, find how to better time manage my day. So first off, getting protective of your time. This is so important because I think that we all know these things. These are things that are not new to us. But if you are someone who gets a little overwhelmed when there's a lot of things going on, so that's me, you have to, what I have found, especially as someone who works full-time, who works kind of crazy hours, you have to schedule out your day. And we all may know that, and we may all do that. But my challenge to you is to get, whether you write it on paper, whether you put it in your Google Calendar, your iPhone calendar, wherever that is. And I learned this actually, I've heard it a million times, but I think it was like a Melanie Mitro podcast, maybe she talked about like getting super intentional with your time. Build out your day, but one thing I would say is if you are someone who gets super overwhelmed when every hour of your day is booked, and then you get to the point where you just do nothing, because that's what I was doing, be realistic about your time. So if you think you can do something in an hour, but maybe the reality is it's going to take you 2 hours, make sure you account for that when you're scheduling out your day, whether you do it on Sunday night for your week, whether you do it the night before. Just make sure that you are being realistic and also building in space to live, because things happen. I've had so much unexpected travel in the last month, and I wasn't really planning on that, but that's how life works. So you just have to be, I guess the best tip I can give is be flexible, but also be intentional. And then my next tip is just doing the hard things first. In the perfect world, I love to get up. In the perfect world, I go to bed early. I get up early. I have this amazing morning. And that may happen a couple times a week, but the reality is it doesn't always happen. And so what I have found, though, is regardless of what time I get up, I need to know what I need to do that day. So I try and either write it out beside my bedside table or write it the night before. And whatever is the one thing I don't want to do in the day, I make sure I do it first. I love to get a good workout in first. If I could do that all the time, I would. But like for today example, I stayed up late. I slept in a little longer. But my first thing had to be invites because I knew I could have worked out with my kids up this morning, but it wasn't going to be the hardest thing I had to do today because I can always work out at lunch if I can squeeze it in. I can work out when they get home from school with them kind of playing around me, or I can work out tonight after this call. But the point of it is, the hard thing for me was going to be sitting down and actually knocking out some invites. So sometimes your hard isn't what you want to do, but if you even, or maybe it's laundry, or maybe it's like doing something for your family, but do that first because not only will you get that off like your shoulders, it'll feel better too. And you will, you'll really start to kind of start the day with this sense of accomplishment. At least that's really worked for me. And then giving yourself grace. I think, I get like mixed, I think, feedback on this. Like I'm always preaching to give yourself grace because I think we all should. I don't think you should give yourself too much grace, but we have to go into like our time knowing that we can do like a crazy amount of things. It's incredible what we're all capable of doing, but we can't do it all the time and we can't do it all at the same time. So recognize that you're not going to be able to knock out the same to-do list every day. Mine's always like super long and I often don't complete it all. And then I feel, like not that I wasn't successful. But just know that you pick like 2 to 3 things that you know you can do in a day and focus on those. But then also make sure you're giving yourself self-care. Like all these things that we talk about in our challenge groups, I was doing it for a year, but I wasn't actually practicing what I preached. So whether that's getting your nails done or taking a bath, for me, it's like a face mask and reading a good book that's not personal development, like a novel. Just make sure you're allowing yourself to have some downtime because when you're working full time, when you're a mom, when you're trying to do this business, it doesn't really allow a lot of time to live. And even if your goals are really big, you still need to take some time to rest and do something that's really fun. So the next thing is just I've had to get intentional with a to-do list. So obviously the new Success Club system tracker, which I think we're all using, is key and is super helpful. And I love that we're doing this challenge. I'm a little bit behind. I need to catch up on posting my tracker, but the challenge that we're doing in Brooks group is really great because it makes you realize that like you can't, it's hard to check off something if you really didn't do it. For a while I was like checking off personal development because I thought I would do it later that day, but I wasn't really always doing it. So I love, like, now I'm taking the whole mindset of just checking it when I actually do it, or, I do it and then I check it, but I don't check it before I do it. So for someone like me who works in like super micro pockets of time, which I'm going to share my schedule next, I like to look at what I can do in a week and divide and conquer all of my tasks, the pockets of my day. So the section 2 of connecting, inviting, and following up, that's something I find I will sit down and do in my power pockets. I utilize the timer method, which I'll talk more about, but I always make sure I'm doing some form of connecting and inviting, following up every single day, but it's always in these like micro pockets of time. And then also, I'm just trying to remember to recognize that each day may be different. I might not be able to check it all off, but just as long as I'm able to check off everything throughout the week, at least more than once, that's really good for depending on what season of work I'm in. I'm in a super busy season right now, but I'll get through it very soon. But just knowing that every day might not be the same, and going into the week knowing that. And then something I've been doing for a while, my husband does it too, is we kind of dump everything, brain dump, scribble it out Sunday, whatever you want to call it, beginning of the week, and then prioritize it in whatever calendar it goes on. Is it my work calendar? Is it our home calendar? Is it my Beachbody to-do list? But it helps when you write everything out and then you can put it in whatever planner you use. And the one thing I will say is a daily non-negotiable is checking in with my challengers and my coaches and my clients, because I think it's really often in this business we get so focused on just getting like the next success club point, and a day goes by and maybe you're not actually paying the attention you need to people who signed up to be on this journey with you. So if there's one thing I'm going to do, a daily non-negotiable, is to make sure I check in with the people who are already with me on this journey and making sure that they're hitting their goals. And that helps when you're, obviously doing one of your vitals is recognizing the people that are with you. But that's something that I find is super helpful. So this is an, I will say, ideal sample packets of my day. So if I go to bed early, ideally I'm getting up around like 5:15, 5:30. I do some quiet time. I get in a workout, and I'm checking in with kind of doing that daily non-negotiable. I'm checking in with my challengers and on my team page. And if I have something harder that I need to do that day, like I know I need to do my invites first because I'm traveling or whatever, I'll do that first. But that's ideally how I work that first hour. Then from there, I'm with my kids. I'm getting them to breakfast, getting them to daycare. I start my work day. And then it's not always 12 to 1, but usually during some point, I'll take at least an hour lunch. And that's when I'm setting like a timer, and I'm doing at least 15 to 20 minutes strictly of inviting, connecting, following up, and then typically like another 10 to 15 minutes of expanding my network. And then any checking any messages, sending any share carts, hopefully, that all kind of happens in that, even though it's kind of an hour, it might not be a whole hour, but that's kind of a power pocket of my day, my lunch break, where I'm doing what I consider are the business building activities or the income producing activities. That's what I do then. Daycare runs are dedicated to personal development, whether it's the National Wake Up Call, it's a podcast, or it's a book. I've even listened, I had some really, really long car trips this month, and I listened to a couple of our team calls that didn't have like presentations, and that was really helpful too. And then my night hours are typically team calls, checking in with groups, and then that's when I'm like creating kind of my content, whether it's for my team, whether it's for me. I love utilizing the Unfold app for my Instagram stories. I can't remember if there's a training on it or not. If not, I've got like an overview of it. But if you guys aren't using it, it's a really cool tool, really easy to use once you get the hang of it. And I love to do like call to actions through it, whether I'm talking about my own journey, for signing up for a challenge group, or for signing up to do the coaching opportunity. So I'm usually doing those kind of I love to actually do them on airplane rides too when I don't have internet, so I can just use my pictures on my phone. So anytime that I have a little bit of time at the end of the day, I'm usually using that to create content. And then my random pockets are, again, just working on inviting and following up. And sometimes it's simply like 5 minutes, but I find that if I know how much time I have and I literally just set the iPhone timer, I'll go over it every time. And something about like knowing that you only have to do something that maybe you're not in the mood to do for a limited amount of time makes it easier to do. And then here's my actual sample pockets of my day. This was today, because the reality is, Christina knows this. I am a night owl. I do not go to bed early. My hope is that if I continue to implement some of these tactics, I'll start to go to bed early, but I'm such a night owl. So like last night I went to bed late. This morning I literally did exactly what's on here. I snoozed until my 4-year-old wakes me, had some quiet time, and then I checked in with my challengers and I did like some inviting. And then from there, like, again, I will say, and I didn't say this up here, sometimes this section is dedicated to being with my husband because, you don't want this business to completely take over your life if you already have a job, or even if you don't have a job. You've got to remember that there are real people in your life that need your time too. So I will like caveat here and say that I use this time, like I'd say 3 to 4 times a week, but my husband may be sitting beside on the couch with me and he may be doing some work too, but we do try and spend this time together. Maybe I'm doing work a little bit in even like mini pockets so we can still have some time. And we will do date nights and things like that too. But just make sure you are spending time with the real people like that you can touch in your life, because if not, that can start to create challenges. And then like, if I don't get a workout in the morning, I do work from home. So I can work out really quickly on my lunch break and still get in a quick shower. Don't necessarily have to like put makeup on and everything. So I know that that might not apply for everyone else. But with these workouts being so short, you can definitely squeeze them in before work or after work or even at night. That's what I love about these. And then again, kind of similar for the rest of the day, but just the ideal and actual, the difference is kind of my miracle morning. It doesn't always happen the way I want to happen, but I definitely still make all of these things happen for the most part of the day. The difference is if I don't have a team call, I'm either doing stuff for my own business, my team, or kind of creating content, thinking through post ideas, just so I'm not always having to think things in the spur of the moment because I do work on such limited hours. And then tracking. So this is something that I will say, out of everything I've learned in this business, this is something that's been the hardest for me to grasp and to learn and to really understand that what gets measured gets managed. And so you have to figure out what's going to work for you. For the longest time, I kind of did pen and paper, and I say kind of because I was actively doing it, but I was really crappy about following up with people, or I had written a name down and I didn't really remember everything we had talked about, and it was taking too much time for me to scroll up through messages and figure out what the context was. And the hope is you're inviting so many people that you wouldn't necessarily remember everything in every conversation that you had. So after pen and paper was failing for me, I moved to Streak, I think after Brooke did a demo. And I was a little overwhelmed with it at first, but I'm using it in its most basic functionality, I think. But what I do is I strictly use Streak. There's things like Asana, there's things like Teensy, but I use Streak just to track everyone I'm talking to. So what I have found since I'm, again, working in these power pockets of my day is whenever I'm inviting, rather than take the time to go put it all in Streak, I utilize the back of the bat tracker or a notepad. Like if I run out of room, hopefully every week I'm running out of room because I'm inviting so many people, but not always the case. So I write everyone down, and then 1 to 2 days a week, I'm going into my tracker and I'm putting that information in there. So that way, because I'm not able to dedicate the same hours every day, I'm only tracking in my system 1 to 2 days a week. And so I'll write everything down, and then from there, 1 to 2 days a week, I use that as the start of how I invite and follow up. And what's really nice is someone who, like, for example, I know I've talked to a lot, I will still write their name down. And when you go into Streak, as I start, I can actually search them to see if they're already like in my system, and I can move them to the right group. This is just a screenshot, but I have forming, multiple follow-ups, in discussion, send a share cart, and then a calendar. And that is working currently. Again, I've tried a lot of different things, but what I have found is it works for me, and then it also works that I only input everything 1 to 2 days a week. I also utilize a Streak app in my phone because I travel so much. So if I am on the road and sometimes my work computer, if I only take my work computer, my Gmail isn't always accessible, I will be able to input their information in here. And then other thing I was going to say is Sundays, I usually start my week off with starting inviting and following up from my Streak, because it kind of gets me in like the momentum, because I find that if I take off kind of Friday, Saturday, or like I'm spending more time with my family, I'm not necessarily in the mood to just like get right back at it. So it really helps me to kind of start with my tracker to kick off the week. And that gets me motivated, excited, even if I'm getting like a ton of no's, at least like I'm planting seeds and I get the momentum going for the week. And I've already got, 50 names I can start with. So I'm not having to it's really mindless to start, inviting. So this is my last slide. So that's helpful with tracking. So the last one is just about, I'm I mean, we talk about this all the time, but really like seeing your why every single day. So because if you're busy, because if you're working this business in these power pockets of your day and you're a mom and you have all these things going on and life gets crazy hard, if you're not visibly seeing like why you're even doing this or it's not very strong, you're never going to want to continue the momentum with like life gets hard or coaches quit, or in 1 week, 2 coaches quit, someone returns the challenge pack, and your husband loses his rank, which is a true story. But the point of it is, if I'm not like seeing these things, I'm not going to want to continue to do it. So I love like this right here is so creepy to some people because they're like, oh, it's like, is that your kid and their friends at the children's museum? And it's not, it's like a stock photography picture. I need to actually put one of my kids at a children's museum, but that's my screensaver because that is my goal with this business currently. It's to leave my full-time job. It's to be at a children's museum at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday because that's the freedom this job gives. And when I don't want to invite and when I don't want to like carve out these mini micro pockets of time, I just can look at my phone and know that that's what I'm working for, because for me, this business represents the freedom and the time to be more intentional with my kids, because that's what's going to, if I continue to do these tactics, my hope is that that's what I'll be able to do on a Tuesday. And so I think like it's also so, just so vital to, give your soul the encouragement it needs. So like seeing your why, doing like your quiet time or your personal development and helping to like fill yourself up so you can, really keep that why in front of you and focus on your journey and show up for your dreams, because I think that that's what it comes down to. And that will really help you, as you like struggle to find these pockets of time. So that's all I have. I saw this kind of lighting up, so I'll see if there's any questions. Oh yeah, the tracker is the Success Club tracker. Yeah. So, and also I will say, so before this tracker came out, I think we were all using different things. This was like a newer thing, right, Brooke?
Yeah, I think it was like at the beginning of the year, I want to
Yeah.
say, like January.
Yeah. So I think that before that, I kind of Brooke had one. I made one that Brooke used, and Brooke gave me some ideas for one. And I looked in like our team upline, and I had made one and like redone it several times. But this just really makes it easier because, as long as you're doing like these things with a really good focus on the number 2 section, you will see success in it. And like one thing I will say is like this business, you have to go in it with the expectation that like you may not, it may not like go, like this business may not grow with the expectations you had in mind. But I will say, if you're not hitting Success Club, if you're not seeing the success that you think you should be doing, I guarantee you can pinpoint it back to something that you, I hate to say failed, but failed to do during the week or during the month. I mean, I've had months where I've struggled to like get in some of these vitals. And as a result, the next few months are way harder. And so as long as you're just like remembering that we're all here for whatever reason and whatever why is powerful for us to be here, as long as you're doing these things, you will see success. It's just maybe it's going to take longer than you anticipated. I think we've all had that feeling, but this definitely helps set up how you handle your pockets of the day. And again, anytime I have a micro pocket of my day, I'm doing some form of inviting is what I find. But that's all I had. Any questions?
So you are sending, I think you said the other night, like 30-ish invites a day?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys watched I was listening to, was it the girl in the National Wake Up Call today? I was actually, she did like a guided power hour in maybe the Beachbody Champions group a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was just last week. And I was doing, well, my goal's like, I had a goal of like 200. And so I've tried to up it to like 250
In a week?
in a week. Yeah. But my goal is like 30 a day. But sometimes my days, especially right now, are crazy and hectic. And like this weekend, I was traveling, so I did not get to any invites at all on Friday or Saturday, or maybe just like a few. So this week, it's a little laid back for me. So like my bit heavy invite days are going to be like the rest of this week. And I'm going to it could mean maybe staying up a little bit later, but yeah, my goal is 30. And it's a combination of inviting and following up. And anyway, so that girl, Heather, I think is her name. I don't know if it was on today's call. I didn't watch the whole thing. I hadn't finished it yet. Or the guided power hour she did. But I loved like a lot of her strategies, which is, if you don't know where to start, go to your most recent transformation, invite from there. If you feel like you've invited like all of your story followers and, people are continuing to say no, that's where I use some of those tactics too. And then I get like, I don't know about you all, but I just find, especially just while we're talking about inviting and follow up, I get a lot of like ghost, just like you showed today, Brooke. Like, I get a ton of ghosts. People just, they continue to watch my stories, but they never respond. But I, just like Brooks does, and she's taught me that, I continue to invite. And then at some point, maybe it is just monthly or every other month if I'm failing to track. Hopefully I'm doing it every month because I'm tracking so much better now. But, just you have to keep inviting, because if they're continuing to watch your story, they're obviously maybe still interested.
Yeah, I mean, if they're continuing to watch your stories and like your stuff, that's an open invitation to invite them. I mean, I think if people are totally not interested in your stuff, then yeah, I mean, you can invite them every once in a while, but I think it's totally justified to continue to invite them. I know that's what a lot of top coaches do. They just invite them every month until they get blocked because, I mean, that's just, if they're watching your stuff, chances are, and like I said last week on our team call, they are interested. It just may not be the right time for them. Even though if we feel like it should be the right time because it's the right time for us. We're always willing and ready to help people, but yeah, keep inviting them because you just never know. Like that girl I showed you guys, if you missed it, I posted today. I posted it in the chat. I should post it in the group. I think I messaged her 9 times between today or the other day and like January something, 2017, with no response. And she got back to me today finally, and it was like fireworks went off. She was like, yeah, I'm so excited. Like, I absolutely need this. Like, I'm ready. Like it wasn't like she was annoyed or pissed off or whatever. Like she was totally ready. And hopefully I end up changing her life, and, it just would never have happened if I didn't keep at it, or if I kept second guessing, what she would have thought of me. And again, that's all going back to our call last week. Make sure you watch our call last week if you missed it. But yeah, inviting is important.
Yeah, and I think it's just, I mean, when you look at this, like, especially if you're a new coach and you're like looking at this tracker, it may seem very overwhelming. And so that's why I always like to tell someone or tell a new coach that, this is what you should strive for. This is not necessarily what you need to do from day one. I think it's almost ordered in the priority that you should do these things. So you have to work on yourself first. Mm-hmm. And then once you get comfortable with that, you have to start to share your journey and connect with people. And I think that, especially if you're new, it'll help to know that that's like what you work up to, but definitely focus on just building out as you go. Because, I mean, I think a lot of us are like this. You get so overwhelmed with life and everything going on that you have all these things to do, but then you end up wanting to do nothing. And I think, again, that's why, as long as you're seeing like why you're doing this, or you are, it's tangible, you can touch it, whatever it is, like know that that's going to drive you to, okay, get organized. Because I have days where I'm like, I don't even know what the heck I need to do first. But this has been a godsend because I feel like it's like the Bible of Beachbody now.
Mhm.
It's so foolproof. It's kind of like the containers for coaches. Tells you exactly what to do or eat. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Does anybody have any questions? Any like aha moments, anything that came up? Danielle, are you taking a picture of us? No, I just don't want to, no, I was just asking because I don't want to forget to take a picture in a minute. Okay, cool. Well, Kelsey, do you mind if we, reach out if anything comes up? Obviously,
Yeah.
I'll post the recording sooner than later. I try to get it up as soon as possible. But no, this was super, super, super helpful. I love when you talked about, at the beginning, doing the hard things first. I definitely get out of that. I think for me, it's like making sure I do the things for myself. I actually just posted about it in my stories today. Like I was totally getting away from doing PD in the morning because I got stuck in this habit of like waking up and like answering messages or like, doing other things, but I have to focus on myself first because if I don't do it first thing in the morning, it usually doesn't happen. But
And there's a way too at night I turn off my messenger because I have like squirrel brain.
mhm.
So if I'm in the daytime, I'm trying to do something for work, like my full-time job. I turn off my messenger. You can like silence it or go sleep mode or something for like different hours. So like
Yeah.
at night I do it for 8 hours. During the day sometimes I do it for an hour. And it helps because that's really easy to get distracted by messenger and
So then if it's asleep and you open it, you can't even see the messages yet?
um no, I don't know, does anyone
Probably
know?
like,
I've always tried it and actually not looked at it for
yeah, that's what I need to try to do.
yeah, I don't know, but it helps.
Yeah.
I mean, Christina and Aaron know I like when there was like a year ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't handle Facebook because there's so many groups and there's so many messages and there's so many things. And it's helped to just like now you can kind of like group things in your app or group things on
Right.
your homepage. And that helps because for me, like I'll go into Facebook to do one specific task that's going to help build my business. And then I get distracted.
Yeah, you get the notifications and then you're off doing like 87 different things.
But no, it's like there's different ways to kind of silence things to help, I think. So I kind of do operate like a power hour, but they're just like little mini hours.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I don't know what coach or I can't remember where I heard it, but I know a lot of people like, whether it's like turn up the jams and like get excited to invite or do the timer method, like that really helps me because I'm never like, oh, I'm so excited to go invite somebody. Never like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you got to make it fun.
I get excited because then, you get momentum.
Right.
But yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And like Christina said, your Canvas are always like so amazing. They're like so professional looking. I love them. I feel like a kindergartner when I do mine. Okay, let's take a picture really quick, and then I'll get the recording up as soon as possible. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Love it. All right, thanks guys for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking the time, and let us know if you have any questions. I'll get the recording up, and have a good rest of your night. All right.